Previously on the James Olsen composing vlog.
So today I am going to Banstead in South London to work on the D-Day project that I'm doing with the Bournemouth Symphony Orchestra. So I'm going to see Grandpa and his friend Robert, who is also a D-Day veteran, and they are going to answer the children's questions.
And now the continuation.
Hello, hello.
Hello, lovely to meet you all.
We're school children from Portsmouth and the South Coast, and we have some questions to ask about D-Day. If you're on the boat, were you seasick?
No, I was running around with my father's fishing boat, and my uncles all had fishing boats, and grandfather had a fishing boat. Since I was knee-high, I've only ever been sick once and never again.
I was dogged by seasickness all my life at sea. The first couple of hours into a voyage are misery. And once that's over, you become acclimatised, and that's all right.
What was your boat called?
Well, my ship was called HMS Emerald, a very elderly, well, fairly elderly, even in those days, 6-inch gun cruiser.
We had it was just an ordinary cargo boat. The first hold was fitted out with bunks for soldiers, and we had a battalion, or whatever you call it, of French-Canadian soldiers from the Lake Superior Regiment. And we anchored off around at Armanche-Romain, Le Bain, and offloaded the chaps and all their gear into Royal Naval rigid inflating boat. I think they call them ribs for short. 2 enormous outboard engines on the back, who ferried the chaps to and fro. After that, that ship was then taken by tugs and grounded at right angles to the shore to make a breakwater for the harbour, the specially built harbour that was towed out by tugs.
The Mulberry Harbour.
The Mulberry Harbour.
What did the uniform feel like?
I can show you my uniform. MN, a small silver badge that all the merchant navy seamen had, but they wore civilians. They were civilians, they weren't servicemen. A lot of people don't know that. But that was our badge, until you got a job like a petty officer or bosun or something. Then you had a uniform. But until then, no.
On the bridge of the ship, at action stations, you wore as much warm kit as you could underneath, down to your pyjamas,
Yeah.
and waterproof oilskins on top, and a duffel coat.
Oh, yeah.
You had a life jacket on, a tin hat, anti-flash helmet, which covered the whole head and just left your eyes and nose sticking out, and gloves, same. And that is how you sort of spent your time at action stations, and you did what you had to do around all this encumbrance. And if you were at action stations for a long time, you had to sleep there as well. So I used to get it up from the signals thing. There was a thing called the large black flag, which had a meaning if hoisted. But I stole that and wrapped myself up in it for warmth, and would lie with my head on my gas mask and the tin hat to keep the rain out. And that's how we passed our days, occasionally being given a corned beef sandwich to eat. And a mug of tea.
How or where did you go to the toilet?
We had on board the heads, we didn't call them toilets. The heads were on board, and they were available, and you might be released to go down to them, but not very often. and there was always a bucket nearby if necessary. I heard a phrase once used which might amuse them. What you have to do is to learn to bake it and blow it out as steam.
How did you feel when the war ended?
Oh, quite relieved, actually.
Well, when the war ended, I was extremely pleased.
Me too.
Nobody was going to shoot at me anymore.
Me too, yeah.
We, on VE Day,
Yes.
I was actually at sea, heading back into the Clyde. We're still quite a long way out. And we were at sea on D-Day, on VE Day. That's Victory in Europe Day, whatever day that was.
Mm-hmm.
And we had to keep a lookout for surfacing German submarines. And they were instructed to surface, stop, and fly the big black flag to indicate that they had surrendered. And then we were instructed to put a boarding party on board to take charge of the ship and get it back to a port in the UK, which was usually in Northern Ireland, near Londonderry, where a lot of them ended up. So we were looking for these things popping up all over the place. We didn't see any.